Wow, that ending. As a huge fan of Star Wars and Mandalorians well before the Mandalorian ever came to be, I always wanted to be a Mandalorian ever since I saw them in the Knights of the Old Republic games. But no, really, that ending means quite a bit, and we're going to get into some theories and speculation as to what that could mean for Bo Katan or potentially Din Djarin moving forward with that reveal. But this episode was a really, really decent addition to this season. I almost wish that they dropped 2 episodes at once to really get that kick and taste in the mouth for what's to come this season. Now, just one thing before we get into today's recap, breakdown, and review. I would really, really appreciate it if you hit the like button. Maybe consider sharing this video out there. I barely get any views on the Mandalorian videos, so if you could help your boy out, I'd really appreciate that. Would love to get more Star Wars fans here to just go over the episodes every single week. But without further ado, let's get into episode 2 of The Mandalorian Season 3. So, of course, we're continuing Mando's journey to Mandalore, but we first pick up with a bit of a race in Mos Eisley Spaceport. We're revisiting Peli Motto once again, and I was thinking just for a split second, because Mando has a bit of a formula, and what I mean by Mando is the show itself, and how you might have like a main plot beat, and this isn't all too unfamiliar with other formulaic approaches in other shows with regards to, then you might have an episode which I thought was going to be like this, where you go see Peli Motto again. Oh, it's about the IG memory circuit unit, the part that he needs to repair the droid. And so, okay, we're going to spend a whole episode on that, kind of like refueling this ship before we continue on. But I was very glad that this was a very, very brief pit stop. Not that I hate Peli Motto or anything like that, even though I think a lot of people tend to criticize whenever there's an episode heavy with her in it. I just kind of didn't want to not waste, but have more of a fillery episode if we spent the whole duration in Mos Eisley Spaceport only to leave at the very end. So very happy that after a bit of a Jedi jump from Grogu and a new addition to the Mando team, because we have R5-D4 join, and he's probably one of the most scared droids I've ever seen in Star Wars. He now has a place, and I wonder if he's actually going to continue, because it is quite fitting. I do like the addition of Din Djarin having another droid that, I'm looking forward to maybe seeing IG again, but if we have R5-D4 continue on, I do see potential there with what we saw from him this episode. But this is when we head to Mandalore, and once again, I do like the further education of Grogu. Din points out that he never lived on Mandalore, but he lived on the moon Concordia. He also points out Kalevala to Grogu, which was a bit of a foreshadowing that, hey, here's where Bo Katan's castle is, just in case I get into a bit of a sticky situation later, you can go over there and bring her to me. This is where we enter the atmosphere of Mandalore. As soon as you enter the clouds, it turns into a bit of like a horrific storm situation, but as soon as he broke through that, it actually didn't look too bad down there as in terms of the weather. Obviously, everything was obliterated in the Purge when the Empire's fist rained down on the Mandalorian people, and seemingly there is not really much left behind. But there is definitely signs of potential for the future, since it does have a breathable air now. It's not toxic to literally breathe. The reason why I'm saying all this is because if it is breathable, maybe they could introduce new settlements, and the incredibly, albeit very incredibly slow rebuilding of Mandalore, and especially with that ending and what that could signify with regards to hope for the Mandalorian people, other than that of just a Darksaber, well, who knows? This could really end up being uniting the Mandalorian people with Din Djarin and Bo Katan at the helm of that, or they could be at odds, and this is what we will get into a bit of theory crafting with later. So Mando sends off R5 to take some air samples, but he disappears a bit. Just in this moment, I like how things are already a bit more conversational between Grogu and Mando. Obviously, Grogu hasn't learned any words yet per se, but already this season, just hearing Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talk about this season, Grogu is still a kid, don't get them wrong, but he is growing up, and how can that change the dynamic of Din Djarin and Grogu's relationship? And already you're starting to see how, whether it's a little Jedi force jump or, how he's spinning the chair in the previous episode, they mentioned how obviously with Luke's training, there's going to be a lot more surprises there with how he's learned more ways of the force, but also also he does seem a little bit more interactive. They're definitely giving him a bit more screen time of badoos and other words like that. But I actually can't wait for the day. I feel like this could be a potential big episode in the future, kind of like it is in real life when a baby speaks their first word. I wonder when that first word is going to be spoken and what that first word is going to be from Grogu. So with Mando going after R5-D4, he gets attacked by some Alamites, I believe Bo Katan called them, and we got once again another foreshadowing for the Mythosaur at the end with regards to she's saying, oh, well, they used to live on the wastelands above the surface beyond our cities, so I wonder if they survived, what else could have survived? But long story short, Grogu and Mando go to the entrance, this little cave entrance, and you can see the Civic Center there. They drop all the way down, and they slowly start to navigate their way to the Mines of Mandalore, which obviously are quite a bit further in. But all of this, I love the set design of this episode. I do want to compliment it in this episode because, for example, a bit of a comparison to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, some of the set design or environments, or whether, you know, they're using the volume, they might obviously put in something in the background, some rocks, for example, the Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan duel, but it always felt a little bit lackluster. But with the very industrial looking Mandalore, especially in the Civic Center, and as they make their way towards the Mines of Mandalore where the living waters are, I found it very pleasing, like very Star Wars, and it felt very rich with effort, this episode, in comparison to some other stuff we've seen from Star Wars on Disney+. So along their journey, they encounter these little kind of crocodile, alligator-looking dog things with glowing eyes. I don't know what they're up to, but it seems they're just lurking away. And it's kind of funny that they reminded me of these little hybrid dog-alligator things, because after all, the alligators survived the mass extinction event of the dinosaurs, so of course they survived the purge from the Empire. But they're not the only thing that survived. This is when Mando finds an ancient Mandalorian helmet, gets caught in a trap of this kind of spider droid initially, but then you see like the organic eye in there. So there's a bit of droid bio kind of thing going on there, similar to Grievous in a way, especially when he detached himself from the droid unit, the spider unit. And that was like really, really cool. I actually really appreciated this kind of creature droid design here. It definitely doesn't seem like a straight up droid since there are blatant organic parts, but yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. And I feel like at this moment we got like a proper Grogu solo mission. Like he sneaks around, tries to use the Force to open the cage that Mando's in, makes a noise so he has to get away, does another Jedi jump. But it's truly like, I feel like we haven't had this properly before. A couple of minutes of a sequence of Grogu genuinely operating by himself, like whether that's running around, scuffling around, getting back in his little pod, flying all the way up to the ship. Then he gets in the ship and he's actually communicating. I found this quite cool with R5, and he's mainly pointing to the star chart as to where Bo Katan Kryze can be located, and R5 takes off. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think all of us are a sucker for Grogu moments, but they actually put a little bit more into it than a cute little badoo. You know, there was actually quite a bit more going on here. So Grogu makes his way all the way to Bo Katan's castle, and then Bo Katan's just rolling her eyes. Again, she's just sulking on the throne. I do wonder, I know, I guess she's lost her fight. All the other Mandalorians are just working as mercenaries across the galaxy, of whom we're following her previously. But when the scene just opens up with her there again, just like, it's just like, what does she do in her day-to-day life? But either way, after she's done rolling her eyes, she says, let's get rid of him for once and for all. She goes to greet Mando in the ship, but little Grogu pops out with a badoo and is just like, please help. So despite wanting to get rid of him for once and for all, we have Bo Katan kind of completely change her mind and want to help out Mando, which, you know, I do understand. I'm not really meaning it when she says completely change her mind. She may have wanted him to stop coming to visit her, but it's another thing if he's actually stuck somewhere. He is a fellow Mandalorian, albeit it's from a slightly more zealoty version of the Mandalorian creed, but she wasn't exactly going to let him stay there. But a part of me does wonder if she has in the back of her mind, like, oh, well, if he's actually dead, you know, I could go there and maybe pick up the Darksaber. I mean, he's dead after all. It means I wouldn't have had to fight him for it. So, you know, even though that wasn't remotely expressed on screen, in the character's mind, you have to think what could be going on with her inner monologue there. Now, amongst Grogu guiding Bo Katan, she talks about how she used to rule over this once beautiful civilization. She even says that she knew a few Jedi back in her day, and of course, we've all seen that in the animated form. We then see her very much so impress Grogu Grogu when she battles some Alamites, and she goes hard. Like the combat and choreography there, I was really entertained by. But then we were treated with another fight, of course, and that is when Bo Katan has to actually free Mando and fight that weird creature. But as a result, she uses the Darksaber to actually, take down this little bio droid thing. And that was really fun because obviously she's experienced with using the Darksaber. This is why when we saw Mando using it against the Alasites earlier on in the episode, he's still using as if it weighs 10 tons. And that's a part of obviously not really being truly in balance with yourself. And maybe that has something to do with him not feeling like he actually belongs anywhere right now, because the whole point of this is so he can bathe in the living waters to get back into the Creed and have his redemption. Whereas Bo Katan, even though she doesn't own a Darksaber, she's not the rightful ruler or whatever, she can actually use it very swiftly. So when we saw her use it, it didn't weigh 10 tons at all. It was like a lightsaber. She was just absolutely slaying with it and using it very elegantly. Now, the back half of this episode, I absolutely loved for many reasons, and it's more the dialogue here. He's insistent that he must continue on so that he may be redeemed, and we have Bo Katan kind of taking the piss out of him, saying, I honestly think it's adorable that you believe in these children's stories. There's nothing magic about the waters. But either way, Bo Katan rolls her eyes again and was like, fine, I'll take you there, but don't thank me until you see the waters. She really thinks he's going to be disappointed. We get some more dialogue explored with Bo Katan revealing how she really, really just hates seeing their own kind fight each other time and time again, even killing each other for reasons too confusing to explain. It made them weak, and by the point of the Empire arriving, they had no chance to resist the fist slamming down with the Purge. So with dialogue like this, it does give me a little bit of an optimistic flair that with the direction of the way things are going, especially with the ending we're about to get into, is that will she help unite the Mandalorian people with Din Djarin? Because she said it herself, it pains her to see their own kind fight each other time and time again, even killing each other. So if she continues on and does it in a selfish way, sure, she might have the right motivation saying, I want to bring the people together, but maybe through me having the Darksaber, me riding and taming the Mythosaur, even if it's at the expense of Din, then she's going to be a bit of a hypocrite because she would have done that at the expense of maybe wrestling for the power of the rightful ruler of Mandalore by maybe taking a Darksaber from him. Like, who knows? There's always a little bit of, okay, is there something more that Bo Katan is going to do? So I really hope that she doesn't contradict herself with her saying how painful it is seeing what her kind of acted like towards each other. I also enjoyed the commentary about her father dying to defend Mandalore, her going a bit in depth about her being a part of the royal family and how she took the Creed and she was showered with gifts at the time, but the rituals were all just theater for their subjects. And this is where we get to the living waters beneath the Mines of Mandalore. And there's even a cool little plaque there. And once again, Bo Katan very smugly is like, I see a little educational plaque here, so I'm gonna just read this out to you just because of how ridiculous it all is, right? So these mines date back to the age of the first Mandalore, and according to ancient folklore, again, keywords ancient folklore, like they barely believe in the myth of Mandalore taming the Mythosaur, but either way, it goes on to say that the mines were once a Mythosaur lair, and Mandalore the Great is said to have tamed the mythical beast, and it was from these legends that the skull signet was adopted and became the symbol for the Mandalorian people and the planet. And lo and behold, in the waters is literally not so much ancient folklore kind of thing. There's actually something there just like, and what? Yeah, I'm here. And so in this moment, Mando takes off his weaponry. Did he take off his jetpack? I'm just wondering, because, now I think about it, could he have flown himself out? But either way, this is where we have Bo Katan just like, look at these waters, as if this is really gonna do anything. And he goes in there, and all of a sudden, he just kind of gets pulled down. Now, the Mythosaur seem to have been waking up, so, like, I guess maybe we're meant to think that he got pulled down by that, but I don't really know if that's the case. You could argue without the jetpack and his Beskar armor, that as he was walking down the steps and how deep the living waters actually go down, maybe his armor could have just, as he was going down the steps, he just fell off and he just sank down. But I think we're meant to think it was actually something pulling him down. But either way, Bo Katan launches herself straight into the waters. And again, like, she has to go very, very, very deep in there. And you have to wonder why it was so big at the time. And that's because it has to freaking house a Mythosaur. And as she's on her way back up, she has her little flashlight on her helmet and she sees a Mythosaur open its eyes and see her. And then they spring out the water and the episode ends there, which leaves the question in our minds, is she going to tell him about the Mythosaur? That's the question, isn't it? And you may be thinking, why is that such a question? Well, this is where we get into a bit of theory time, but in of itself, my reaction to this was, even though it was a bit foreshadowed, I was just like, yes. Yes. First and foremost, again, kind of funny that Bo Katan was teasing Mando for believing in legends, myths, children's stories, and lo and behold, there's one right there that she witnessed. The second question in my head after this was that we had the armorer say that she kind of needed proof of Mando bathing in the living waters beneath Mandalore to, I guess prove that he is truly redeemed. And I'm wondering what that proof would be. Does he have to, like, bring a little vial of water and she can test the pH levels and she's just like, right, yep, definitely the living waters beneath Mandalore? Or would the proof be something like maybe the armorer secretly knew that there was a Mythosaur beneath there and they need like a scale off of it or maybe a little piece of bone? I don't know, but that would prove a very, very hard task. And even in of itself, Mando didn't really even know there was a Mythosaur there. So would he have known that he needed to maybe get a piece of the Mythosaur to prove himself? I don't think so. So what is the proof? Question number 3 that came to my mind is, did the Mythosaur wake up from possibly centuries or, maybe even longer sleep or hibernation to kind of symbolically show that it perhaps sensed that the ruler of Mandalore had entered its little bathing waters and it's like, I'm here. But then that raises the question, who did it wake up to? Did it actually technically wake up first to Mando/Din Djarin entering the waters? Or is it more of Bo Katan's claim to try and tame the beast because as she was going up, it opened its eye to her? But again, she wouldn't have gone in there if it wasn't for Din Djarin. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a bit of a debate. Who did the Mythosaur actually wake up to? I think that's going to be an important thing to note moving forward, because Mythosaur, just like the Darksaber, is an insanely symbolic thing to the Mandalorian people. I mean, after all, you heard what the little plaque said. That gave them the signet and brand of their people, and Mandalore the Great actually tamed the beast. So as a result, question number 4, will Bo Katan kind of abandon, which she kind of already has, the desire for the Darksaber? I mean, sure, she's got a desire for it still, but she's not going to kill Mando for it. I think we can understand that because she is exiled herself to her castle and she's sulking on her throne. So she doesn't inherently seem like an evil Mandalorian thirsting for power, even if it's from good motivations to reunite her people by any means necessary so that she's going to kill Mando for the Darksaber. No, she hasn't done that. But has she now seen an alternative way to get the trust of her people as the rightful ruler? Sure, the Darksaber is very important, and if anything, the actual symbol of the leader, but what about the Mythosaur? If she could maybe tame the Mythosaur, then maybe that would be even just as symbolic to the people and other Mandalorians out there, that even though she doesn't have the Darksaber, hey, look at what I've got here. We thought these were long extinct, if not folklore. She might be like, what do you think of this? You gotta follow me now? And lastly, question number 5 that I'm gonna pose here is that no matter what, I do think seeing the Mythosaur, whether she's gonna tame it herself or whether her and Din Djarin are gonna try and tag team it or whatever, I think this will fuel her ambitions even more. From that of her sulking ex-ruler on the throne to having her ambition reignited after seeing the potential symbol that the Mythosaur could provide her, and that could give her the access to claim what she's always wanted, and that is to be the ruler. And the thing is, I don't know. I think it would be really cool, and the show is already providing a little bit of a hint towards this, that the fact that she helped out Din Djarin, that they could maybe unite their people together. But I am concerned that Bo Katan, even though she has accepted defeat, she doesn't have the Darksaber, she's been sulking on her throne. What if this steers her to the kind of power-hungry greed of realizing she could have what she thought was forever lost? But I don't know. The Darksaber is still a very important ingredient, and even if she had the Mythosaur, there would still be the question of, but Din Djarin has the Darksaber, so is he not our ruler? I really don't know, but I hope they do unite together, and I'm just dying to know now what is going to happen with that Mythosaur. Are they going to try and tame it? If anything, I revert back to the question of Din Djarin being like, wait, what happened? What was down there? And she's like, nothing. But if they do tag team it together, and I don't know, she might say to Din, if she is transparent, do you realize what this means? If we could tame this beast, then this could mean, great things for our people or something. And they could use Grogu to try and use the Force to maybe help tame the Mythosaur, just like how they did a while back with the Mudhorn. But yeah, a Mythosaur is very different to a Mudhorn, but also Grogu has trained with Luke Skywalker, so who knows? But that ends the episode, guys, and that was very, very entertaining. I really enjoyed that way more than the first episode. Not knocking the first episode, but this is like, where we're really getting into the meat and bones of the potential of The Mandalorian Season 3. So I am dying to know all of your thoughts on this episode, all of your theories, expand upon mine. Can't wait to read them. If you enjoyed this video, it really, 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 really helped me out if you left a like on it, maybe shared it. Help me get a little bit more of a Mandalorian base on the channel. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always.